So be respectful, be responsible. And then today we're going to talk about be safe. So we've all talked about, or we've all been thinking about in our different classroom settings, right? In the classrooms that we hope to have one day. Um, and so I want to give you some time to reflect. And then we're going to talk about what will be safe look like in your classroom. And so I want to give you this example. Those of you that had me for chemistry, be safe in that class was very different from be safe in a math class, or be safe in a history class, because safety in a lab, by nature, by the fact that it's a lab classroom, has to be very different. And so I want you to take a few minutes, not even a few minutes, about a minute, to think about what be safe will look like in your classroom setting. And then I'll start asking you to share that with me. Okay, Kim, what is be safe going to look like in your classroom? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely included in there, because excuse me, thank you. Um, because the drill procedures, so we practice those drill procedures because hopefully it'll never happen, but if it does, then everybody knows, right? And it's the same kind of thing. So you may have some procedures in dance or in band for an injury, for a situation that might happen, that you think like, okay, hopefully this never happens, but if it does, everybody knows what to do. Procedures. Awesome. Thanks, Kim. That really like gave me some insight into what your classroom could look like. Matthew, what about you, hun? So I want you to think about safety, and I'm going to give you some time. I want you to think about this, and I'll come back to you. But I want you to think about safety for your classroom. It's more emotional and psychological safety. Because think of this, and hopefully this situation has never happened to you. But let's say that you're talking about trade routes, right? And you're talking about trade routes out of Europe, and and you ask a question. You ask the students, okay, guys, so why would the Europeans want to trade along the trade routes? And so, you have Vanessa, and she raises her hands and she's like, well, because the Europeans didn't have anything. They didn't have anything, and they needed stuff from the other countries. They needed spices, they needed slaves, they needed all of these things because they had nothing, right? So that's an incorrect answer. You, as the teacher, know that the Europeans had gold, they had horses, or maybe not horses. I can't remember exactly, but they had gold and they had all these things. They had grains, they had things to trade, but this student has said that they don't. So your response, you have two kind of responses you can give. You can say, yes, the Europeans did need these things from the other countries because they had these things to trade is why it worked. Or you can go the route of saying, that's stupid. The Europeans had this, this, and this, right? That's the psychological safety of your classroom, right? That a student needs to know that they're safe to give a wrong answer, because is Mr. Garza going to cut me down and tell me I'm stupid and I'm never going to answer a question again? Or is he going to say, cool, but this, and fixed me if I'm wrong, right? So for your classroom, it's more of the psychological safety. It's more of the, um, a little bit of physical safety, because it's like you mentioned yesterday about the hands and feet to yourself kind of thing. But just kind of think about it in that way, because maybe your safety for your class falls more under the respect thing, under the be respectful. So I want to come back to you because I want to give you time to kind of process that and think about it and see if there's anything you want to add. Alondra, what about safety for your class? Alondra, if you think it'll help, type it in the chat, because I'll be able to see it from the chat. Okay. All right. Luis, what would safety look like in your classroom? Okay. And that's really cool that you mentioned that, because for your situation, and probably also for Kim's, um, it's not just the safety of the self, of yourself, right? But the safety of your instrument, because those things are expensive. Um, and they can be like the nicer ones, a certain brands can be crazy pricey. Yeah, I'm very fortunate that the one child that I have that's interested in band wants to play the drums. Um, so I feel like, I mean, I could be totally wrong because I know Kim does percussion also, but maybe those aren't as expensive. Maybe they are. I don't know anything about it. Oh, oh no. Oh, good. All right. I feel a little better. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my best friend growing up, he played the drums. He was a percussionist. And he had like, they're like wood, right? And they have like some kind of like rubber on top of them. And he had like a bunch of those where he would practice. Um and then Mande. Oh, seniors, go. go meet about the ACT. Nobody told me. I'm going to tell Mr. Longoria. Gonna get him in trouble. All right. So yeah, he had all of those little drum pads, and then he had drumsticks, like wooden sticks with like a little ball on the end. I don't think he had anything else, but I know for sure he had those. But this little one. Yeah. Well, she's excited because she starts 6th grade next year. Yeah, so she's excited about that. And then she'll play softball, but softball's in the spring. So in the fall, she'll do her band stuff, and in the spring, she'll do her softball stuff. All right. So the be safe part of it, that's important, but it really does mean be safe in more than a physical way. And it's really funny because we don't consider the be safe nearly as much as the respectful and responsible, because we tend to feel really safe in schools, even though schools have been the sites of really unsafe events in American history. And so it's good that we consider schools to be safe spaces, and safe places for our children, but it's kind of not good because we take it for granted that it's always going to be safe. And so the task that I'm giving you guys, that I wanted you all to start on today, is kind of to think about what your classroom expectations would be. And I wanted us to talk about it, but I didn't know the seniors would be missing. But that's okay. We don't need them. But I want us to think about, in your classroom, in your future classroom,
it's not.
I want you to develop your classroom expectations. So you're going to actually submit a document on Friday. And so I'm gonna kind of write this out so that everybody has it. You're going to submit a document on Friday. And it's going to be your classroom expectations. Each expectation has to fit under one of the 3 big rules, okay? So I want a minimum of 6. Each must fit under one of the big 3 categories. And each must include an explanation of how the teacher will teach. I'm going to change that word. Will model the expectation for the class. Okay, that's the assignment. So you're going to create your set of classroom expectations, a minimum of 6 rules. They all have to fall somewhere under the big 3. And then how will the teacher model these for the class? So I'll give you an example. If in my class, the expectation is be on time, then I need to be on time, right? Like today, I thought I had plenty of time. Today, I was 3 minutes late to class. But it's not an expectation for me for virtual learning because I understand that we're all in different situations, technology issues, blah, 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 whatever, right? So that would be an example. The expectation would be on time to class. That would fit under be respectful. And then the teacher, how will I teach it? I will model the expectation to be on time to class because I will be on time to class every day and prepared for instruction. So that's kind of what the format would be. Now, I want it to look like an actual poster. That's a highlighter. I want it to look like an actual poster that you would put up in your classroom. So it's going to be a document on Google Docs that you will upload into the classroom assignment that I'm going to create. On the top, it's going to say Miss Suchil's classroom expectations. And you guys have been in some classrooms where they look super cutie and they have little flowers or they have little dancing girls or they have little bees or stripes. You make it look as cute or as not cute as you want, because this is a document that would go up in your classroom, right? As a poster, as a flyer, as whatever. But this is something that would go up in your classroom. And this is kind of leading to next 6 weeks project. So that's why I want you to actually make it look like it would go up in your classroom. Now you can make it super cute or super interesting looking. Again, it can be as plain or as interesting as you want. And then you're going to list your 6 classroom expectations. And then within each of those, now you can group them and you can say, okay, the 2 be safe ones are going to be first, and then the 2 be respectful, and then the 2 be responsible. Set them up however you would like. But within each of them, I need to know which of the big 3 categories does it fall into, and then how are you going to model it. And so underneath, you can write how you would model each of those in your classroom. But this document is going to be due Friday, which is 10/2 at 11:59 p.m. And tomorrow we're going to look at some sample ones because the wording needs to be really specific. And so today I wanted to create the assignment with you guys and kind of show you what it is that I want, because tomorrow we're going to talk about how to word things in a way that's appropriate for your classroom and appropriate for your students, especially depending on the age and grade of the students that you're going to be teaching. Because you kind of, you would worry more about cell phones at the high school than you would about elementary, but they're still there at the elementary. And so if that's going to be one of your rules about no cell phones, then how do I say that, right, at the elementary versus at the high school? And so we'll talk about more of the wording things tomorrow. Any questions, lady and gentlemen? Awesome. I'm going to post this up in Google Classroom as an assignment. And then I'm going to add in a Google Doc template so that you guys have something to start off with. And if you guys want to start working on it today, then go ahead. Thank you, folks. And I will see you all tomorrow.